He's not a regular person.
Yeah.
Like, all jokes aside, like, Melly's not a regular human being.
Now at 5:37, 2 men are in jail this morning, including an up-and-coming Florida rapper. Both men are charged.
All I gotta do is up this brother, your ass just.
Oh, you threatened me with your little gun? I got big guns. On the end of the day, Melly is my child.
You know, I got Sat Chaser right here, that's my brother, that's my twin.
Okay.
And I got Juvie.
Juvie?
Yeah, my brother.
Just a lot of your friends who passed?
Yeah. Nah, them right there.
Oh, okay.
What up, gang? Back with the real. You know what's the deal. By now, we've all know what's been happening the past 2 years with Florida artist YNW Melly. And if by some reason you live under a rock and in the dark about a situation, then you come to the right place. YNW Melly was at one point at the top of hip-hop as a new artist breaking into the scene with his emotional and raw music. But the rapper and the different personalities living in him allegedly took out 2 of his best friends and staged it as a drive-by. The once prolific career now has the capital punishment hovering over his head. We're gonna break down his troubled past and the voices in his head that led him down his destructive path, the snitch that may have sealed his fate, and the damning evidence of the case. Jamel Demons will be conceived when his mother, Jamie Demons King, was only 14 years old. Being a child herself, she lived with her mother in an apartment before beginning to work at Dunkin' Donuts after they moved to the lower end of Gifford, Florida, known to have widespread poverty.
I was 14 when I got pregnant with him, and I had him in my 9th grade year. He was born, and then we lived in these apartments called Briarwood with my mom for a little while. Then we moved in the low end of Gifford, which is like real poor, but that's what she could afford at the time.
Jamel would find ways to cope with his new environment, bumping on the porch with his radio. One day, he would pop in his only CD, Chris Brown's first album, and while dancing, he would for the first time meet one of the friends he's now under suspicion of murdering, Christopher Thomas Jr., also known as YNW Juvie. From then, their friendship was inseparable, and he would build a bond with him that were like-minded with bigger dreams.
Ain't nobody make it out of here. They dream, they stopped them in high school. Me and all my niggas, we had the same dream going up.
This would include the other homie whose life he allegedly took, Anthony Williams, also known as YNW Sack Chaser, an accomplice to the hit of their 2 friends, Cortland Henry, aka YNW Bortland. Let's sidetrack a sec to pay close attention to a founding member of YNW that oftentimes goes unnoticed, Jalen Green, also known as YNW J Green. YNW J Green was one of the first 3 to form the Young Nigga World YNW collective alongside Melly and Juvie.
Was you ever in YNW? Or?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
For sure. It was all that we started that shit. It was me, Melly, and Juvie.
Unfortunately, there would be a falling out between him and Melly that would cause him to distance himself from the group, but later they would squash it, realizing they were tweaking just off being young and wilding.
It was just like, it was like pride and ego, you feel me? Like, nigga don't want to do this, nigga don't want to do that, you feel me? It's like, everybody want to be the star, everybody didn't know their position.
Now, he goes by just J Green, but still respects the YNW name.
Still YNW, or you just J Green?
Oh man, I'm just J Green, man.
Okay.
I'm YNW 4L though.
Their time together started off the come up in their music world, like the YNW track, Youngins. Melly would claim to have this career path revealed to him by God in the 4th grade during a kindergarten rendition where he had the lead role for the classic Lion King cut. Now and then, he would freestyle in school.
Okay. Get your ass 33rd. Matter of fact, a goal line. If your brother run up, that boy gon' get told.
But his mind was hiding someone in him that he kept from the world. Melly would be diagnosed with bipolar disorder and ADHD.
Well, you're not diagnosed with bipolar or anything like that.
Yeah, I am. And,
so
you are bipolar.
And ADHD.
Damn.
And the different sides of him slowly began creeping out. According to a now-grown Melly, he has a total of 6 personalities, but he keeps 3 hidden from the world until the right time.
How many personalities do you have?
6.
6?
Yeah.
What are the 6?
I can only reveal 3.
Wait, why?
Because the other 3 aren't going to be able to be released until next year.
Oh, okay. Okay, so tell me the 3.
You got Marcus, you got YNW Melly, the rapper, and you got Melvin.
The 3 he's shown thus far are the cool chill one, YNW Melly, the low-key civilian one, Marcus, and the one that'll take your life, Melvin. If we fast track a bit to his hit single, Murder on My Mind, that placed him on the map, Melly told Genius in the interview that Melvin is the one that inspired the song because that's all he thinks about. Melly's life would change at a young age when he was charged with 3 counts of aggravated battery with a deadly weapon and 1 count of discharging a firearm in public.
Basically, like 10th grade, really.
Okay. Were you getting a lot of trouble and shit?
Yeah, I had went to jail for the school shooting thing I did.
School shooting thing?
Yeah, I was shooting by the school.
Another follow-up, a teenager has been arrested in Vero Beach after he fired shots near Vero Beach High School. It happened yesterday.
This pushed Melly to drop out of school, but it was a blessing and a curse. It was when he was behind bars that he penned the song, Mama Cry.
Sometime I'll be home soon. It won't be long, I promise.
And the track that brought him to stardom, Murder on My Mind. It was up from there. Melly's popularity was skyrocketing, and after being released, he dropped the track Melly the Menace in February of 2018, where he raps, "Bitch, I'm a menace, I shoot up school premises, F the environment." Unfortunately, his freedom was short-lived after authorities would arrest the rapper while on juvenile probation for the lyrics to his song, Murder on My Mind.
And I kept beating all my violations because I had a lawyer. I kept beating him.
Right.
And then boom. Like that one, it was just like, hell no.
Was it because of the video?
I ain't had the video.
Or the video wasn't even out, right?
It was just a song.
I had saw that you got in trouble for it, so you had to rename it Mischief, no?
Yeah, I went to jail for it.
Yeah.
But
he would be back out not long after. Melly would be in and out of prison, fighting legal issues, but his music career was exploding. It was evident when he released a collaborative track, Mixed Personalities, alongside Mr. Yeezy himself from his album, We All Shine. His signing to 100K Management solidified his fame. Melly and his YNW crew were taking over, living lavish and everything that comes with it. But in 2018, tragedy struck when Melly reportedly lost his day one homies, YNW Sack Chaser and YNW Juvie, to a drive-by. On October 26, 2018, reports began flooding in about the drive-by that shot up Melly's whip, and 2 of the YNW collective succumbed to their injuries upon arrival to the hospital. The story given by YNW Portland, who was the one to bring his wounded friends to the hospital, was that the crew, excluding Melly, had just left the studio in Fort Lauderdale, and as they entered the freeway, a car pulled up and opened fire, hitting Sack Chaser and Juvie in the head, torso, and back. Melly would mourn the passing of his brothers online with heartfelt posts to social media. Some footage, however, of Melly turning up, looking happy at a music video, taken just the following day of his friend's passing, have some questioning his empathy.
Melly still turned regardless of what happened this early morning. He's still out here being very positive. Turned still. Hey!
But the world still banded together to share comfort for the rapper's loss. Law enforcement was working behind the scene on investigations into another theory, and soon, Melly would have his world turned upside down. The story broke when YNW Portland was arrested in February 2019 for his role in the hit of Sack Chaser and Juvie. Melly would release a message to his fans before turning himself in to authorities. It was then that the true severity of the accusations was coming to light. Basically, what authorities believe is that Melly and Portland staged the entire drive-by to cover up that the one that murked their friends were none other than Melly himself. Crazy. The charges were damning. Portland, whose real name is Cortland Henry, was charged with 2 counts of premeditated hits and 2 counts of accessory after the fact and held without bond. Melly, real name Jamel Demons, was charged with 2 counts of premeditated hit and also held without bond. Given the level of crime, Louisiana hood legend Boosie advised the use of the lawyer that got him off capital punishment, Jason Williams.
Nah, not like that. I was just reaching out and just letting them know that, you know, you need to get Jason Williams. I had other people reaching out to him. Everybody just telling them, hey, you go get Jason, you know.
But even with Jason, the case had a lot of roadblocks coming that would stop Melly's freedom in its tracks. Authorities would release findings on their investigations, and the information documents appeared like the nail in the coffin for Melly and Portland. Officers had cell phone videos, Snapchat messages, videos, snitches, the whole 9. Investigations began picking apart plot holes in the original story. Firstly, Portland told authorities it was a drive-by and that Melly wasn't in the car as he went in a separate vehicle when they left the studio. That's the first contradiction. there was another person in the studio by the name of Dontavius Withers, who informed authorities he was present at the studio with Melly, Bortland, Juvie, and Sack Chaser, but upon leaving, they went in separate vehicles and was unaware of where Melly went afterwards. That was also a contradiction. Investigators found that to be untrue upon finding out that he was in the company of Melly at Fredo Bang's crib after the shooting. Investigators would then double back to the studio where the manager confirmed the crew was present, and footage from the studio shows all four leave in the same vehicle, a gray Jeep, with Bortland driving, Melly in the left back seat, Sack Chaser in the front passenger seat, and Juvie in the right back seat. Upon being pressed by authorities, Withers would change his initial story, saying Melly left with Bortland and them first, but then got a message on Snapchat to meet up, and that's when Melly got in his whip. Here's where investigators outwitted their tactic. Officers obtained a warrant for the phones of Melly, Bortland, Juvie, and Sack, and by mapping out the routes from each, they found that Melly was in the gray Jeep the entire time and never met up with Withers. Instead, his phone location went separate from the Jeep just minutes before Bortland went to the hospital. Before that time, the Jeep proceeded to circle one area for a length of time. This connected a lot of dots to the authorities' theory that Bortland intentionally stalled, carrying Sack and Juvie to the hospital so they could scheme up the story of the drive-by when they themselves were the shooters. But that's a large speculation, even if the stories by Bortland and Withers didn't add up. On top of that, investigators concluded that it could not be a drive-by based on the assessment reported from the autopsy. The report shows that the wound path was contradictory to that of one that comes from outside, but more matching a scenario where the bullets were fired from inside, mainly from the seat Melly was located. Investigators would hit a gold mine when they found a shell casing inside the vehicle and a plastic bag by Melly matching casings on the outside of the vehicle. What does this mean? To investigators, it supported their claim that Melly was the one that pulled the trigger, so the entire drive-by was staged as a cover-up. But the cops didn't stop there. They still needed more to have an airtight case. They called in the help of the K9 unit, who they used along with data from the phone locations to locate what they label as the real crime scene. There, they found evidence that set Melly even further back. Officers would collect 8 .40 caliber shell casings, the same bullets that were found on the floor at Melly's seat. Not only that, but shattered glass that matched the Jeep, also located at the scene. These findings make the theory something of a reality to the case now, as it means the vehicle was stopped at that location and bullets fired in to stage the hit, then moved on. This matches up with the time patterns and movement found in the phone tracking made possible by the network Melly used. Being on T-Mobile, a network which allows various data to be collected, even as detailed as when someone is mobile or stationary, cops had all the info they needed to piece together their case. Findings would suggest that the trajectory of the bullets into the vehicle were inconsistent with the story of a drive-by. I know it's a lot, but follow me closely here. Check out the images. Cops mapped out the entire trajectory of the bullets, and it showed an eye-opening discovery. The bullets weren't matching up to one shot by a moving vehicle in a drive-by, but from someone standing, shooting in. Also, that the wounds inflicted on Sack and Juvie came from close range and at angles consistent with them being fired from where Melly was located. By now, things look pretty grim for Melly and Bortland, but investigators weren't letting their foot off the gas. Turns out, as stated in court documents, Melly's manager, Jameson Francois, also known as 100K Track, was ordered to hand over Melly's phone, and he passed on the actual phone into their hands. Many have come down on him for not denying having the phone or providing another phone instead of the one Melly had, but that's not the route he chose. This phone was like the smoking gun to the case. It allowed for the tracking, and worse yet, for the finding of a video of Melly apparently admitting to the hit.
A month after the shooting, Melly releases a video, according to the state attorney, saying, basically, you never shut up, we got you.
Authorities would also find Snapchat messages between Melly and his girl 14 days after the incident occurred that seemed to speak on his respect and protection of Bortland after he held it down and helped carry out the act. The info must have hurt not only Melly and Bortland, but his manager as well, given that reports labeled him earlier on as someone that has steadily been trying to sideline the investigation. Everything at this point was a mountain that was becoming more and more unclimbable. But wait, there's more. Cops would interview another witness, Jacoby Mills, that was present in the vehicle that left with Withers. This was the break authorities needed. He would provide answers to a range of questions by law enforcement. He would tell authorities he too was told it was a drive-by that took his friends' lives, but that changed when he met up at Fredo Bang's house with Melly present. He said Melly was acting strange and crying, but from his demeanor, it appeared fake to him and insincere. No matter how much he asked Melly who shot them, Melly would remain silent. Kobe then told authorities that him, along with Melly, Bortland, and Track, went to a woody location led by Bortland and recovered a .40 cal covered in blood, like the same matching the bullets found at the crime scene. He then stated Track took the gun and vouched to take care of it, after which the alleged weapon used in the hit was never to be found again, even after cops searched Track's apartment on a warrant after the interview. The final piece of information that ties the entire investigation together was a recording of Melly's mom that gives probable cause to the double hit. In the clip, she states Melly showed her messages of Sack Chaser threatening her and her loved ones with a gun, then proceeds to send back one of her own, saying her son Melly has bigger guns.
Oh, you threatened me with your little gun? I got big guns. On any day, Melly is my child.
The odds seem fully stacked against Melly. To date, the latest news was the May 23rd release of Bortland on $90,000 bond to await trial on house arrest. Unfortunately, in April 2021, Bortland violated the terms of his release by turning up at various clubs, which got him right back in the pen with his bond revoked. As it stands, they're both again incarcerated and awaiting trial to see if the case leads in their favor or in the direction of the law. While Bortland will be facing life, Melly, on the other hand, is being tried by Broward prosecutors for capital punishment, so the stakes are high. I'll keep my ears glued to the case and update you with any new findings that come to light. RIP YNW Sack Chaser, rest in peace YNW Juvie.